All right, hello everyone. Welcome to this latest episode of Clairvoyant Conversations. My name is Alexander Creek. I'm a psychic medium, numerologist, and psychic development teacher. On my show today I have a wonderful guest. Her name is Rachael. She's actually a former. I met you because you're a former student of mine. You took one of my classes, and since then I've just kind of noticed her blossom into this amazing tarot reader, energy healer. So let me kind of read all the things that you do, actually. So Rachael is a galactic healer trained in many modalities, including Reiki. Along with intuitive readings, Rachael enjoys exploring energy with tarot, runes, Lenormand, palmistry, and dice readings. Her passion is holding people's hands as they traverse through the shadowy, dark nights of the soul with the intention to impart wisdom and techniques to find their light. So welcome to my little podcast, Rachael. Thanks for agreeing to do this.
I am so excited to be here. Yay.
Yes. All right, awesome. Okay, so you've very much transformed into because you were kind of in the closet. I feel like when I initially met you, I knew that you were doing stuff on Instagram, but now you're eyelashes. You occasionally pole dance on lives as well. So I feel like it's just this 180. So I guess I'm curious about where you're coming from, because I'm always interested in how you got started on this journey, quote unquote. But I guess I kind of want to hear how you got from point A to point B, basically.
Yeah. So, one thing is, I definitely have, since finding out all of the tidbits of my astrology, I only recently found out my birth time.
Mhm.
And I feel like that knowledge has given me permission to live my authentic life,
Mhm.
because I live in so much Scorpio energy and eighth house energy. Also, a lot of Leo energy. So, definitely vibrant and out there.
Mhm.
But I also am very, it's a conflicting dynamic inside
Yep.
my body of
Yep.
I'm drawn to all of these things that are taboo, mysterious, occult.
Mhm.
And yet I also am a suburban housewife in
Yep.
the
Yep.
Bible Belt of the United States.
Yep.
And I have enough energy in my chart to also want to blend in there.
Totally.
I was told Libra is at the top of my chart, so it's very much like trying to find this
Mhm.
balance of what do people want to see
Right.
from me, and then
Mhm.
Capricorn rising is also like being successful in the way that people perceive
Totally.
me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so I'm very occult and dark and shadowy.
Yep. Yep.
My habitat is not.
Right. Right.
So, what got me on this journey, I definitely have always been drawn to this. And then as a
Mhm.
child, it was very much like, no, this is not acceptable. This is not
Right.
allowed. So I shoved it down, became an adult. Around 2012, my
Mhm.
first mini awakening happened. And
How
I
old were
started
you
seeing,
in
how old
2012,
was
by the
I?
way? Yeah.
Early 20s.
Okay. I was just wondering about, I was wondering about the Saturn return situation. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Actually, I had my Saturn return when I was pregnant, and that threw me through a loop.
Wow.
Looking at the dates, I went into
Yeah.
labor like right around the last few days of my Saturn return.
Wow.
So
Crazy.
whew,
Okay.
I wish I had known that back then.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but
Interesting.
yeah, my first spiritual awakening was around 2012. I gave myself permission to look at tarot decks, to
Mhm.
take psychic classes, to kind of start exploring that. I have my first deck here for the
Oh, awesome.
YouTubers. I went with the Golden Tarot because it has very Christian imagery, and I felt
Gotcha.
comfortable with that that sort of bridging of that. And then I also got a
Totally.
lot of angel decks because, again, just trying to find that light. I
Mhm.
still was really nervous to go into the shadows.
Mhm.
So, finding spirituality, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so great. I've had a lot of pain and trauma in my life. Let's just be love and light and totally ignore all of that. And
Right.
that's the direction I took for the longest time of just like, no, 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 we don't need to look at all of that because
Mhm.
I'm spiritual now. I
Right.
can just be really happy all the
Right.
time. And my guides were like, put her back to sleep. She's not getting it. She's
Yeah.
not getting it.
Yeah.
So I got pregnant. It was a difficult pregnancy with my twins. And that put me in survival mode. And so all of the spiritual stuff just went out the door. I went straight to like root chakra, just like, I know I need to eat. I know I need to sleep. That's all I got.
Right.
That's all I
Right.
got.
Totally.
For quite a few years. And then that energy took a really tough turn into postpartum depression and anxiety and panic attacks,
Wow.
body health things
Yeah.
showing up where modern medicine couldn't direct me to a healing. And that's when it started to shift and click like, hey, you got trained in Reiki way
Yeah.
back in 2012.
Yep.
Hey, you got trained in all of these other things. I found my tarot deck that I shoved in the garage. I found all my crystals that I shoved in the garage. And I started getting back into it slowly
Yeah.
with the intention of exploring, why am I hurting? Why are my emotions hurting? Why is my body hurting? And illuminating that healing. And that journey is what led me into being a healer, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I could actually face some stuff that I was so scared to face.
Yep.
And I didn't have somebody holding my hand through it. And I would love to be there to hold other people's hands and just be like, you do have light. And you don't have to look at all the darkness at once. And giving little tools that have helped me, seeing if it helps other people, and also sometimes just saying something sparks in them, just like a remembrance of, oh, I can find that like wholeness, even if it's not the same exact tools as me, it can branch and mold into what fits their energy, and that excites me.
So yeah, I guess I didn't really realize how much like shadow you've walked through personally, like that dark night of the soul stuff. And it also speaks to all your eighth house planets as well, too, right? Like that just like kind of speaks volumes of like when also like I think, like if part of your path is to be like is to work in this kind of modality to be a healer, like a lot of times you go through like a dark night of the soul, and like that's why people trust you. That's kind of, I don't know, for me it felt like part of like my soul's training, I guess, or like my like the training that I wanted for myself. So amazing. Okay, very cool. I just
I
didn't
don't
really.
talk about it too
Yeah.
much because I also sometimes I forget, like, oh, these things are actually like really traumatic when you lay them down in front of somebody. And so I'll say something from
So,
my past and I'll just get like, how do I hold this for you? I'm like, oh no, I've held this for myself. I'm okay. You just
right,
asked about my life.
right.
And they're like, I didn't expect, like, I didn't expect this from the girl with orange hair. And like, oh my goodness, I didn't
Totally.
expect you to be like, trauma. So I held it a lot for myself, but I don't want that for other people. Like, they don't have to do that on their own. Like, there are great healers now in the world, and I would love to, if I can't be that, at least point them to the direction of somebody that fits for their energy,
Mhm.
you know?
Do you, can I ask, I guess, do you identify with the archetype of like the witch being burned at the stake? Because I definitely get that from you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, very much so. Like, many times is kind of my vibe. Like.
Many times. And funny story, and I will always share this story.
Yeah.
um so I'm going to assume that your listenership believes in past lives and is
Mhm.
open to that.
Mhm.
I did a past life. It was like, I wasn't even doing a reading on myself. I was just in meditation, and it was one of those spontaneous rememberings
Right.
where my current life husband in a past life ratted me out for being a witch and had me burned at the stake. And I was like, baby. and and then like later on I did some healing. I think it was even in your class we were doing like an exchange of
Wow.
readings. They were like, this is this karmic healing and everything, and I went to him and I was like, don't you feel better knowing that this is a karmic healing because we love each other and support each other? And he's like, I never felt bad in the first place. YOLO, I live in this life. And I'm like, oh my
Oh my
gosh, you
God.
just YOLO'd your past life with
Right.
me.
That's hilarious. But I feel like he seems quite supportive of you in this lifetime for all your stuff. So
Absolutely is.
yeah.
From everything. So even back to the pole dancing,
Mhm.
I've been pole dancing for years, like 9 or 10 years.
Wow.
Again, I've never shared it
Right.
because I've always been intimidated. What if people found out? What would they think of me? Now, if people find out, then I can tell them I'm a witch and they'd be like, what? I wish you were just a pole dancer.
Totally, totally,
It's
totally.
not a big deal anymore. But back then, I had a lot of insecurity
Mhm. Mhm.
back in my early 20s when I started doing that.
Right.
And I'm 35 now.
Gotcha.
So it it took me a long time to realize, like, you know what, I don't need to live my life based on what others perceive
Mhm.
life should be. I don't have to be that that facade energy of trying to just be there for everybody in the way that they are needing me to be. And
Mhm.
that was really the energy I was residing in for most of my life. And now, especially with this quarantine time where I'm like with me and I'm like, well, who am I? I don't have
Totally.
anyone to like be
Yep.
for.
Right.
Who am I? And that's been really fun to just be.
What
Um,
year are you in again right now? I can't remember. Are you
I'm
in a
in
one person year?
one
Okay.
personal
Okay.
year.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Because
last year was very much like, who am I? And this year
right.
was very much like, I know a little bit more about me.
Right. Kind of like shedding the old versions of you, I would
Yeah.
think, right? Like a lot of shedding skin. I gotta say too, like in what you're I feel like America is scared of their sacral chakra or it's really overactive in people.
Mhm.
So I feel like you're kind of coming at me with a lot of like very strong, empowered, kind of balanced sacral energy. And for anyone listening, sacral chakra to me is like sexuality, it's creativity, it's passion. Oh, that's my cat. Hey, Simon. Okay. No, you naughty boy. Go away. So,
Yeah,
anyway, sorry.
I come to dance now from the perspective of deep energy healing. So
Mhm.
I actually like sit with myself now and I'm like, what do I what am I looking for? Am I looking for strength and stability? Then I'll do some pull-ups and stuff.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
am I looking to be more fluid and sexy? Then I connect with my sacral and like that, see where that is. If there's anything to travel. If I need my throat chakra, I'll put on something that I just want to sing to and just
Mhm.
like sing and like flip and like a lot of
Yep.
like hair back, hair flips, those sort of
Yep.
things. I really have been enjoying that. And I've actually been thinking about posting things like that because that's very much where I am as far as my exercise routine is like I'm exploring my energy body. I really am really enjoying that. And I'm giving myself permission to share that because I never did. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like a big coming out. I feel like this year is like, I mean, not that you haven't come out, but I feel like this year especially is like, I'm arriving kind of energy. So, and I do want to point out, I feel like you've been into pole a very long time before like Hustlers even was like on the scene before it was cool. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh. It was such a small community back then. And
Yeah.
now turning back to social media, it's so great to see there's so many pole celebrities out there because
Yeah.
there's so many competitions. And like back in the day, there were just a handful. I took
Right.
workshops with like most of them because
Wow.
again, that like go out there. I even like traveled to California to like go.
Wow.
I was
Cool.
in it to
Yeah.
go to like the cool pole dancing classes and studios and those were super fun. But again, I never posted pictures of it. I just kind of like held on to the pictures. And now I'm looking back and I'm like, it was such a beautiful time. And I'm glad that now I feel comfortable enough to share. I'm not fully out of the closet to
Right.
everybody, but I
Right.
am a little bit more. My
Right.
in-laws know that I do tarot. They know
Cool.
I do pole too.
Yep.
Because we have one in our house and the kids will just run over to
Well,
it.
I wouldn't say too, like when you come out, you have to be safe, honestly. Like there is like that's a big part of it, especially if you're living where you live,
Yeah.
like, whether I think it's coming out like with your sexuality or whatever, like there is an element of like, is it safe? You know what I mean? Like of course I want everyone to be like out and proud with whatever that like whatever they're doing. But if you're like, you know, if you're like a 17-year-old kid, like, you know, and you're coming out, like you know, like if you feel like unsafe, like, you know, there's a reason that a lot of the homeless youth out there are like LGBTQ. You know what I mean? So anyway,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And that is something now as a parent that is
Mhm.
keeping me in the closet with certain aspects of the community
Right.
because it's more than just me.
Mhm.
It's the reflection of, I don't ever want it to be, you can't go over to this house because their mom's a witch and that's
Right.
the devil, you know, like
Right.
those sort of things. So I don't, my in-laws are the only ones that know.
Gotcha.
So my friends from church and stuff, and I have a couple of friends that do know because they're more open.
Mhm.
But a lot of my other friends, they don't know because I don't want my family ostracized for my personal choices. And
Right.
it's very much that same
Wow.
witch trials feeling that hasn't
Totally.
gone away yet. So,
Yeah.
mhm.
Awesome. Well, thanks for doing this. Like, you know, like because I get that. You know what I mean? Like I was raised in South Dakota and Iowa. So like not it's not quite on I don't think the same intensity, but it's definitely like, oh, you're like clearly very gay and also a psychic. Like, what is going on? You know? So, but I just have there's less consequences because like I'm raising a cat. Is all, you know what I mean? So there's frankly like less for me to lose, I think. So, and clearly my soul didn't want to hide this lifetime at all because I'm clearly supposed to be like out there. You know what I mean? I'm attracted to like broadcasting, you know, literally. So anywho, I did want to ask little subject pivot. So you have Galactic Healer right in your bio. So let's talk about that. So we talked about witch, tarot, pole dancing, but let's talk about the Galactic Star stuff because I've been noticing you talk about that more and connecting to the energy more like over the past several months. So
Yes. Oh my gosh. So first, it's exactly like what you were saying, as far as like your soul contract was very much like you're supposed to speak out about it. That's something that I have been feeling as well.
mhm,
I'm just like super cautious about who, but
yep,
I'll do these Instagram lives even if nobody shows up because, and I even pulled cards like, why, like, what if no one shows up? Do I get off of the chat? And they're like, no, it's not about the actual exchanges of information for them. It's about me speaking. Like, I'm just supposed to entrain my energy to be safe to speak
right.
out because probably of all those past lives where burnings and stuff like that. I'm just like,
Totally.
be safe. I am like supposed to vibrate to that energy of
Mhm,
I am safe to speak. And my Chiron's in Gemini, so it is very much like
interesting.
I'm supposed to, you know, it's a wounding, but that's where the healing comes from, is by
Absolutely.
embodying that. So, yes, Galactic Healer was actually something that was channeled for me by this woman that I bought a crystal from. And she was like drawing this light language, channeling. And she was like, I think that you're a galactic healer. I get that you work with galactic energies. And I was like,
Mhm.
that absolutely resonates with me because,
Yeah.
yes, I'm trained in things like Reiki and other, just like your like hands on energy modalities. But I intuitively do a bunch of different stuff. Like it just, I go into my session and it's a
Yeah.
lot more than just the symbols and the hand placements. It
Yeah.
really is like just different things. I work with a lot of Pleiadian energy.
Mhm.
The Syrians come through a lot also, depending on like, just depending on where I am.
Mhm.
When I was, yeah, it, it just changes. Different
Totally.
beings show up for different things and a lot of
Absolutely.
angelic frequencies as well. So I'm just like, it's not just me as an earth person being a conduit for energy.
Mhm.
It's messages of what, the way I see it, it's like a circuitry board around a person's body. And some areas are illuminated and some areas are not illuminated. So I have to do certain things to help connect that illumination again and turn on those like little, it's like meridians almost in the auric field. That's how it shows up for me. there's no books on that. I don't know what else to call it. So I'm just like galactic healer, trusting my intuition. I just trust. And then, I mean, the people that I do healings with, they're like, wow, that was incredible. I really felt this whole shift. And like, they're able to see the picture that's before them instead of just a problem and solution. A lot of people come to us, readers and healers, for a solution to problems instead of like just a clearing of whatever was veiling their choices, because the choices are always there in front of them. We're not showing up going, okay, here's your choice, thanks to Reiki, you know,
Right.
now you can make the right choice. It's like, let me clear all of that gunk that other people have put on you
Mhm.
so that you can see what's actually in front of you.
Uh, there's a lot. Okay, there's a lot you said I want to comment on. That was really that was really good. So, number one, like what you just brought up about choices and like I always kind of I remember I think this actually was I think I this sparked in me just from an Abraham Hicks teaching. And if anyone's working on like manifesting, you need to go listen to Abraham Hicks stuff because basically most of what is out there stems from that, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Uh-huh.
Um, but basically, the idea of as soon as you ask, it is given. It's in your field, basically. So whether it's a solution to a problem or whatever it is, it's about clearing kind of whatever is in the way of you receiving that information to basically access it, right? And while I am a problem solver at heart and I love like practical solutions, because sometimes you just cannot see it for the life of you. And so if I'm channeling something or if I'm bringing something in, I'm like, does this make sense to you? I see you like teaching or they're like, oh my God, I've always wanted to be a teacher. And I was like, well, you're ignoring it. You need to do it. Right. Um, the other thing is Reiki has helped me connect a lot more to my like starseed energy. Like that's been a gateway for me basically, because as soon as I started I was like I'm connecting to way more than just the Reiki symbols and the Reiki energy, and it's been and number one, it opened a lot of my psychic channels a little bit more, right? So like when I was doing in-person sessions, there was a lot of I was like a lot of people's grandparents coming through, like, oh, your grandma's here and blah blah blah, and then it was like I would get archangels, and you would just feel these different sensations in your body. And then lately, it's definitely come to my attention that I have a very specific contract with the Arcturians as far as them coming in as because when I connect, I immediately feel like I go up or like I see the person that I'm working on, they're on some like table in this higher kind of dimension. And I just see the Arcturians working on whatever, and it's like clearing. There's a lot of other lifetimes that I'll kind of see be sort of exercised out of people,
Mhm.
in whatever. But it's so not just me. It's like connecting to whatever needs to come through. So
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. I see clients on like like their soul energy like on a table too, and it feels very much like we've gone to this portal of like a surgical room, and there's these beings
yes,
around just being like, "We'll help," and I'm there to like help facilitate and hold that vibration to like.
exactly.
I imagine it's like so that it connects to that physical body,
Mhm.
because they can do all the work, but unless they have somebody on this physical plane to really
Right.
like plug it into
Mhm.
it can get possibly lost like somewhere along the channel. So we
Totally.
holding that vibration, helping to clear and give the messages also,
Exactly.
because you know
If I can remember them, because a lot of times there's like when I'm doing a if like when I do distance Reiki, it's like uh I'll try to remember what I'm getting. I don't want to pause and write it down because I'm like, in channel mode, but
Mhm.
yeah, it feels like I'm there to almost be a link and to also make them feel comfortable as well. Like I feel like I'm there with my humanness to make them feel comfortable and like relaxed almost as well. So
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. Oh, I
Um,
love that you mentioned that.
oh yeah, oh yeah. It's definitely just come up a lot in the past year or so. But that's always been there, but it's definitely just accelerated into more of a like less of like, I think I'm this, and more like absolute knowingness that you're connecting to all these other different aspects
Yeah.
of
And that's
yourself.
exactly why I went a little above and beyond when I became a Reiki teacher. And
Mm,
it's not just like a one day or a weekend thing. I was like, this is going to be a 5-week class, and we're going to go through all the chakras, and we're going to give yourself permission to trust. Basically, I'm like holding the hands of people as they learn, like, wait, I'm actually like getting messages. I'm actually, because I personally, my teacher was really great, but again, this was a long time ago. I feel like language has really shifted in what's
mhm,
acceptable to talk about. Like there was a hint of like, and you might see things, just be prepared. And then it's like,
right.
let's move on to like where the symbols and all of that. Uh,
Exactly.
so now I really am trying to give people permission that it does change what you're able to connect with,
Mhm.
and you're still in control of what you want to be connected to.
Yep.
And it's valid, even though it feels like it's in your imagination. Imagination just means like a mental picture in your mind. It doesn't mean
Exactly.
make up.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. Yes. What was I going to ask you? I'm like super stoked on this topic. Okay, let's actually talk about your class. Let's talk because you hinted at it. So let's talk about. So you teach classes and you have a class coming up. So I guess you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I did start becoming a Reiki teacher because as people were coming to me for healings, I was like, I think you guys could do this yourself. And
Mhm.
with the current time, it's harder to find those in-person sessions, and sometimes it's hard to trust like our distance sessions legit. So I just
Totally.
started, if I figured if people are coming across me and they trust me, then I would love to offer that to them.
Mhm.
And I started doing it. It was a really big leap to go from just a healer to actually like sharing knowledge and all of the things that I've learned. And it's been so exciting, and watching my students actually become Reiki practitioners themselves and get clients and see their reviews on their social media pages and just being like, yay, like
Yeah,
there's more
totally.
healers out there.
Yep.
It's so cool. So yeah, in mid-March, I believe March 10th, I'm starting up the next round of 5-week Reiki class. Every week, so you get your attunement the first week, and then every week we sit with 2 of the chakras and we deep dive into them. What do they mean? It's a lot of it is a self-healing journey because you're exploring it how it is in yourself,
Yep.
doing a lot of that self-healing with the Reiki that you receive, with the attunements that you receive. And as you're clearing your own body vibration, it really does help you understand messages and become, in my opinion, a really in tuned and empathic healer, because you know what it feels like to have your energy clearing and
Mhm.
shifting and your life changing over that course of time. And also, we do breakout sessions so that you can practice on other people and get that feedback, because sometimes distance healings or even like in-person healings, in general, you just are kind of like, okay, I think I'm doing this right, because something that's
Yeah.
invisible.
Right.
And so I really am just there for that invisible part. And then after 5 weeks, my hope is that people are feeling empowered enough to put it out there if they want to, that they can also be an assistant in our, collective ascension
Mhm.
process. And yeah.
Do you okay, so when you do distance session, do you like I usually do it where I'll kind of I basically connect to them on the phone or whatever, and I kind of just connect to their energy and do channel a little bit and do like a little reading for them. And I'm like, and then I basically hang up and I'm like, I will basically text you when I start and text you when I stop, and like, here's what I get at the end. Can I ask what your process is like? I'm just curious as to like what your distance Reiki is
Yeah.
like.
I started with just doing PDF sessions
Okay.
where you would book with me, and then I will write up whatever comes through and let you know that I did that. And then I kept getting people that were like, I only want a video session. I only want a video session.
Okay.
So I just felt that, okay, is the universe nudging me to like get a Zoom account and actually
Yeah.
start these? I started doing video sessions. I was totally nervous because most of the time I'm silent with like my hands moving
Mhm.
around,
Mhm.
like snapping and like drawing symbols, or just really still with my eyes closed and just like
Yeah.
So
Totally.
but yeah, I do sessions over Zoom now, and then I just vocalize whatever's coming through as it comes through. I will mute myself if I'm just doing hand stuff so that they have the option to just rest and relax. And I do still offer a PDF version if they would like to. I'll tell them what time I'm doing it, and they can just rest or go through their day.
Yep.
Sometimes I recommend doing it like at night because occasionally healings can make people sleepy.
Yep.
And a lot of times it's just like, oh, wow, I had the really great sleep and I just woke up really energized. So yeah, that's how I do it
Okay.
now. It's mostly
Okay.
over Zoom.
Okay. I've been thinking like I need to refresh it or like change it up somehow because I'm like, it's hard to explain to people. Like I don't actually see you when I do it, but I think I might I might shift it. But occasionally, like when I do Reiki, I feel like I'm like super buzzed and sending it, and then I just need a second to like I need a glass of water. I'm like pausing, and then I'm back. You know what I mean?
I do have my water nearby, and a lot of my clients actually like show up and they keep their cameras off, and they'll just like unmute when they have to tell me like, okay, I'm ready, or like
Cool.
any if they want to validate any of the messages that are coming through. But most of the
Cool.
time, they're just like, I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'm
Okay. Cool.
totally okay with it. I'm sending the energy. I think there's a lot of trust issues in the world right now of I'm trusting this random psychic that I found online to actually send me energy for my money.
That's
And so
true.
I feel like being able to see me like actually I am making time for you. I am making space for you. I am
Right.
here and
Right.
I am yeah, I'm helping you even though I'm in a totally different area than you.
Right. Yeah. There's I definitely it definitely does not. I'll forget sometimes. Like, oh, you just found me online and booked with me. That takes a lot of trust. You know what I mean? But it's always nice to be like, yeah, this actually is real. You know, like, don't worry. You know what I mean? Your money's well spent. Like, you know, so it's almost like the wizard behind the curtain is actually real, I guess, you know? I don't know. It's kind of a cool feeling. Okay, so let's talk about your tarot basically. So you do a lot of oracle cards, right? A lot of you kind of like mix and match kind of all these things. So I guess tell me about your process, kind of tell me about like the readings that you do, like what do you get when you read for clients? Because it seems like a lot of it is like channeled clairvoyant stuff as well,
It
correct?
is. It absolutely is. And I, yeah. So when I first started putting myself out there as a professional, I started with tarot readings
Mhm.
and I just added Reiki as a little footnote.
Right.
And nobody bought tarot readings. Everybody bought Reiki sessions.
Wow.
And
Okay.
so the universe was very much like, you're a healer.
Yeah.
Glad you can do tarot, but you're a healer.
Yeah.
Now that I've like fully embraced and walked the path and I'm teaching and like fully like encompassing the world of being a healer, now people are buying the tarot readings and they're like, okay, you can have fun
Okay.
with the tarot too, but you gotta find your soul path first.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
I love tarot. I love the stories that both tarot and oracle weave together. I
Mhm.
read so much based on imagery, and
Yep.
it's a message that comes through just in my mind. It's like if I get a reversal in a card, it's like they mean different things, and sometimes there's one little piece of this image that you're supposed to latch onto because
Right.
this dog in the picture means something to this person,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
this, yeah, there's something in there. um, or just the way that the figures are interacting with each other really tell a big story on top of the traditional textbook
Totally.
meanings. You can get that feel of certain cards mean there's going to be change in your life, or there's going to be something blossoming in your life. But yeah, that's how I shuffle whatever pops up. I lay it down, I sit, I basically in my head ask what's the story here, and it just starts to put together. When I first
Totally.
started teaching myself, I would sit with my notebook, very much automatic writing, like in your previous episode at this time of
Mhm.
recording,
Mhm.
um, where I would just write, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know what this means, and write it over and over again
Mhm.
and just let my brain freak out that tarot is intimidating and there's a whole bunch of cards and I don't remember all of them. And then I'd be like, wait, this means this, you know, swords are connected to air, air is connected to this. I see this guy. And before you know it, I'd have this passage of how the card related to what I was asking. And I was like, whoa, I know it.
Yeah.
I just had to let my brain freak out first. And then once I gave it permission, it got to be quiet and the real magic started. And then I didn't have to do that as much with my brain because my brain was retrained. I know it. I actually know it. And the messages started coming through.
Awesome. I've had a couple moments where just because tarot has become like a secondary tool sometimes, especially if I'm doing a psychic reading and I'm like, especially if I feel something is really good is coming up for somebody and I'm like, I just need to like double check really quick. Let me just pull a confirmation card to make sure that I'm on the right track and I'm not just like bullshitting you basically, you know? And so for me, that's definitely like helps like confirm some things, or sometimes for some reason, if I just am not getting that much through my regular kind of psychic filters, I'm like, let's actually just go to the tarot. And that can be a jumping off point for me. But there was I have a specific story I'm going to share with you. So it was like 2 years ago, and I was dating I started dating this guy and it ended up moving really fast. And I was like, this is a little too good to be true. Like there's something I don't get. There's something weird that's going on. And I pulled cards on him. And I remember I got the exact same spread with 2 different decks a couple days in a row, basically. And it's like I saw like the image actually looked like him. And I saw the face on the card like change into his face, and it was next to the devil card and something else. And I was like, the first time I was like, oh, it just must mean passion. That's what it has to mean, right? And then the second time I was like, there's something gnawing at me. And basically what was happening was this person was just kind of using me for a green card, basically. Yeah. And I had gotten annoyed at that point anyway. So I wasn't heartbroken. I was like, you need to get out of my house. But I really felt like my ancestors, very guides coming through, like, you need to actually really pay attention. Like the odds of the same spread with 2 different decks coming out 2 days in a row was just like very, very strange. So I was like, spirit's going to talk to you no matter what tool you're using, basically.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Oh my gosh. That I use the cards for validation too, but
Yep.
oh my gosh, that story just blows my mind. How and the cards repeat and you're just like, oh, you meant it the first time. Oh,
Right.
this isn't just like one of those like, oh yeah, okay, reshuffle moments. It's like, no, you
Nope.
wanted an answer.
Yeah. And it's not like looking at the devil like as, you know, these deeper, it's like literally very on the surface what you need to know. Cause I can be very literal, to be frank. And my my readings can like reflect that sometimes, you know, like if I'm seeing somebody with a lot of like um you know, if I see like a Tasmanian devil in my mind, I'm not supposed to read into it too much. I'm like, oh, this person feels very chaotic and like out of control, right? Like I'm a little concrete. Occasionally it can be a little dense. So my guys are like, let's make it easy for him.
That's good though, because then you're not diving and looking for too much meaning. And then sometimes it'll get like, wait, so it could mean A or it could mean B. Which one does
Right.
it mean? And
Right.
you get in that conflicting energy. It's nice to just be like immediate.
Exactly.
Trust the immediacy.
Exactly. Okay, let me give me 1 second here. Okay, Rachel. Well, I think this has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with me. And I just think what you're doing is amazing. And I'm like, you know, I also got to say that Capricorn Rising shines through because you put out a lot of content, like almost every day. And I'm like, I cannot keep up with that woman. Like, and she's got children as well. I'm like, I have like half your energy level. I feel like, but definitely go. Okay, let's tell people where they can find you and also what else you would like to promote as well.
Yeah, I hang out on Instagram at healing.mama.cha. That name was super cute. My alter ego, like tarot reader, is Cha Cha. So
Gotcha.
I transitioned from Cha Cha Tarot to Healing Mama based on something that my husband said when one of my sons got hurt. He was like, "Don't worry, Healing Mama Cha's got you," and I was like,
Oh,
"That's me." So
yeah.
that's my new my Instagram, because that's what I try to do, is really help guide people and help them feel better with themselves. So healing.mama.cha on Instagram, healingmamacha.com if you'd like to book a session, or if you want to sign up for a class. I have that aligned Reiki class coming up. I have an Earth Star Chakra class coming up where we're diving into, I'm going to do a series throughout the year of all the external chakras, because after my first rounds of classes, people were like, okay, but I know there's more.
Right.
So I'm excited for that, where there's a guided meditation to help connect with that, and also the information on what other people say it is. But ultimately, until you explore your own, it's all so flexible. Everybody's energy is so different. So that's coming up, I believe, the first weekend of March.
Cool.
So yeah, that is where to find me.
You have a Patreon too as well.
Oh, I have a Patreon. Yes, thank you so much. Patreon has been super fun. I offer palm readings and monthly tarot readings, weekly tarot readings on some tiers, and guided meditations and group Reiki sessions. So Patreon, Healing Mama Cha.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I was like, I think you have a Patreon too. So, okay, awesome. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Make sure if you enjoyed the podcast, make sure you leave a nice 5-star review would be appreciated. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and all of Rachael's links are also going to be in the show notes and the comment section as well, because I can never remember. So I need to see, just click on stuff. So thanks so much for coming on. I'll probably have you on again if that's okay.
I would love it. I love talking with you. I try to get all my friends into your classes because I have the best time with you as my teacher. And that's not a joke, people. Like, my friends hit up Alex all the time. Like, when's your next class?
Totally.
Rachael told me about you. And I'm like, yes, we are going to start a coven of awesome psychics that are going to help heal the world.
I have to say, I forgot to mention, you have referred I've gotten a lot of people, because I don't really have to promote my psychic development class too much. Like, I just put it out there and I usually get people that like are referred to it. And a lot of people from your like witch tribe are like coming in, including one that's been very patient. I won't say her name, but I just messaged you yesterday. I was like, hey, I finally have dates. I'm so sorry. I just need to take a second. So, and on that note, I guess too, if anyone's listening, I have classes coming up as well. They start March 16th if you're interested in psychic development. So, well, awesome. Okay, Rachael. Well, I'll let you go tend to your zoo. So, all right, everybody, have a great rest of your week, and I will see you next Friday. Thanks, Rachael.